All right, so we're back. I'm just gonna go over some of the questions you might have about some certain things. So, since I stated that I'm doing this basically for people who are really starting from the beginning, kind of doing a lot of things I don't need to do, but I'm doing them on purpose, just so people can just see things, get an understanding of why things are the way they are, and I think it'll help people be able to read code better as they're going through their computer science journey, if they kind of have a better understanding of things up front as opposed to just learning as you go along. Like it's useful to do that, but at the same time it's better if you have like a overall view, like just kind of a bird's eye view of what's happening when you're looking through an application. So one of the things I did that you do not need to do is I'm returning something from this function. I don't need to do that because there's nothing in this part of the main function that is utilizing this return statement, right? When you're doing a return and you're going to return something, it's usually because you're going to do something with it in another function. So let's just go through an example. I'm going to put some code down real fast and I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. I wrote some code and we're just going to walk through it step by step so we can see how to utilize a return statement. In this instance, I commented out this thing because I'm not making my connections anymore. So we're going to start here at the top. It says integer 5, that's my variable name, equals my return statement. So then the computer says, okay, well, I have to search for this thing. So it searches, it finds it right here, and it wants something back because I'm setting this variable 5 equal to something, right? Normally you would just set it equal to 5, but in this case I'm setting it equal to a function, and after this function executes, it has to return something back to this line right here. Okay, so that's all that's happening when you're using a return statement. It's calling a function, it's gonna wait for it to do whatever it needs to do, and then it's going to ask for a value back because we need to utilize that value somewhere else in the program. In this case, we're utilizing this variable 5 inside this main function here. We can't do anything without something coming back, okay? That's why when you have a return method or return function, you give it a type, because the computer needs to know make sure there aren't any errors. You need to tell it what type of thing I'm returning so that it always returns the exact same type every time. So I'm returning an integer type in this case, and then you have to return something. So in this case, I just returned 5, right? Return 5, that's all I did. So then it comes back, and now that I'm able to do that, I can then take this 5 variable and just print it out to the console, which is what I'm going to do now. And as you can see, it prints 5 right there to the console. Interesting thing, maybe this was some time ago with a very old version of Java. You used to have to do this string dot value of 5. And all this does is says string dot value of. It takes whatever you put inside here and converts it to a string type. So if you have something that requires a string, you can use this thing to utilize it. You don't need it now when you're doing these system.out.print lines, but I remember some time ago when, back with the older, or much older Java versions, that you couldn't get integers to print by just, putting it right here. You had to convert it to a string. So that's that. So how can I fix this code so that I no longer need this connection type to return? Well, I can just turn it to void. I'm gonna say void because what void means is that I'm not returning anything. Okay, that's what void means. So if you see things that says void, that's why it says void. I'm not returning anything. You don't need anything to come back to you. So because of that, I have to also get rid of, I'm just comment this out. I'm gonna get rid of that and get rid of this. Okay. And just run it again and we're gonna see what occurs. And connection established. So went through everything, we didn't get any errors. That's awesome. Now, if you look through some of your errors, you're noticing that you have a few errors. So in this case, this is, well, it's not really an error. It's just like a warning. It is still compile, but it's just telling you that, hey, you're not really doing anything with this connection type, right? Because before we were returning it because we needed to return something, but we got rid of all that. We changed it to void. We don't need to return anything. So that's why you're getting that error. The other error you're getting is this thing, sorry. Exception is never thrown. Now, I did this code some weeks ago. And for whatever reason, when I was writing the code the first time, this same IDE I'm using forced me to throw exceptions here and here. I honestly can't tell you why it made me do that. The only thing I can say is because this was the first time I was doing something like this and I was literally installing things, uninstalling things, reinstalling things, updating things, pointing to different packages here, updating code and changing things in so many different places, I think I may have did something to the code that just required that I throw these exceptions. I don't know. I might have been using some older versions. Like for this one, I made sure that everything is as up to date as possible. So if I probably was using some older version of Java, or not necessarily Java, but of something, some dependency somewhere, that might be why it forced me to throw the exception. I really don't know. And I'm not interested in digging back through the code to explain it, to figure out why, because it just doesn't matter to me. But that's why you're getting these kind of like yellow warning lights, is because you're throwing an exception, but you're not really using it. So if you want, you can go ahead and delete these and then delete that. And sorry. So delete everything, and then you should be able to run it. And it doesn't give you any issues. Typically what they tell you when you're programming for the first time is whenever you're connecting to something outside of yourself. So a file on someone's computer, an API, a database, whatever, you're going to want to have a way of handling these exceptions. So typically you would have to throw an exception, okay, to handle things. But in this case, we're using a try-catch statement, and that has an exception built in, so you don't need to throw your own exceptions. But if you ever need to throw your own exceptions, you can do that. So just going to comment out some stuff. Cannot type. Let's say throw, forgot, new exception. And then I'm gonna say did not connect, and then E. And that's how you can use this exception class to throw your own exceptions. There are multiple ways for you to handle exceptions, like we did it with the log, we did it with just the print the stack trace, and we did it here. As you can see, because I threw an exception in this class, okay, I need to also have a way of handling it in this main function here, because this main function is calling this connect function. So if something goes wrong, it also needs to have this throws exception thing here, so that it can handle whatever is passed back to it. That's what's going on with the exceptions. Like I said, you don't need them to make your application run, so you can go ahead and get rid of them. But if you ever wanted to know how to utilize them, that's pretty much how you would utilize an exception. You can make your own custom exceptions and things like that. So that's it. Went ahead and deleted everything I didn't need, so we're not getting any type of compilation errors at all or warning signs. So I got rid of my throws exceptions from here and here. I got rid of both of the return statements, and I had a connection type connection. I just deleted that because I didn't need it. And as you can see, when I run it, everything works out. So see you next time.